Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before we begin this video, don't forget to give it a like. It truly encourages us to keep sharing beneficial content, inshallah. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our future videos on faith, spirituality, and Islamic reminders. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah bless you and enjoy the video. Sometimes, the end of a relationship or the growing silence between two people can feel like a sign that it's over. The mind races with doubts, the heart aches with uncertainty, and everything inside you wants to know whether to hold on or finally let go. But what if what you're going through is not an ending, but a divine pause? What if Allah, in His infinite wisdom, has allowed this distance not to separate you forever, but to strengthen and prepare both hearts for something greater down the line? It's easy to assume that pain is punishment and that silence means rejection. But in reality, many separations in life are nothing more than spiritual training grounds, opportunities for growth, purification, and inner transformation. When someone is truly meant for you by Allah's decree, no distance, no time, no obstacle will permanently sever that connection. It may be tested, it may be delayed, but it will not be denied. We often forget that love, when it's real and divinely blessed, doesn't need constant proximity to survive. In fact, true love can survive the storms of distance, silence, and hardship if it's rooted in purpose, prayer, and patience. When Allah places someone in your life and your soul recognizes something sacred about that connection, it's not always meant to be smooth from the start. There may be disruptions that feel like closed doors, but they're often just detours designed by Allah to mold each person into who they need to become before they can reunite. Sometimes the separation is the very tool Allah uses to create the future you've been praying for. This is why you must be careful not to judge a connection based solely on present circumstances. Just because you're not talking, or things ended abruptly, doesn't mean it was without meaning. There are people who are meant to be in your life, just not yet, or not in the way you expected. It might be that one or both of you still have healing to do, lessons to learn, or faith to build. Allah doesn't rush what's meant to last. If you're being asked to wait, it's not because He's forgotten you. It's because He's preparing something deeper, something that lasts beyond feelings, something that aligns with your soul's true need, not just your emotional wants. In moments like these, you must return to your inner center, the space where your trust in Allah lives. That's where peace will be found. Not in over-analyzing text messages or wondering what they're doing now. Instead, ask yourself, what is Allah trying to teach me through this space? Am I growing in patience, in understanding, in emotional control? Or am I resisting the divine process, trying to force answers before their time? When you shift your focus from the person to the purpose, you'll begin to see the separation as sacred, not tragic. It's also important to realize that Allah doesn't always give immediate clarity. Sometimes, He lets you sit in the unknown so you can build trust in Him, not in signs, not in people, not even in your own emotions. That trust becomes your anchor when nothing makes sense. The pain becomes more bearable when you believe that Allah sees the full picture, even when you're staring at a few broken pieces. He knows what you don't. Maybe what feels like rejection is actually redirection. Or maybe it's just refinement. You're being shaped for something better, perhaps even for the person you're thinking about. But first, you have to let go of the timing you wanted and surrender to the timing Allah knows is best. There are moments when the silence of someone else forces you to confront your own silence with Allah. You start to pray more sincerely, ask deeper questions, and reconnect with your true needs. You realize you don't just want love. You want love that brings you closer to your Creator. And maybe that person will return one day, but this time with a heart more aligned to yours, more in tune with divine purpose. Or maybe they won't return, but the version of you that comes out of this process will be more whole, more fulfilled, and more aware of what you truly deserve. Either way, you don't lose. When your hope is in Allah, you never lose.
So don't be quick to let go just because things look dark right now. Don't rush to label something as over just because it's painful. Pain is often part of the process. Sometimes, the greater the purpose of a relationship, the more it will be tested. That doesn't mean it's not meant for you. It just means it's worth fighting for, praying for, and waiting for. If deep inside, despite everything, you still feel peace when you place this matter in Allah's hands, then let that peace be your guide. Let Allah's timing unfold. You don't need all the answers right now. You just need trust, patience, and a heart that's willing to wait. Not because you're weak, but because you believe in what Allah can do with time, silence, and surrender. There are moments in life when your heart keeps whispering a name even when the world has gone silent. You try to move on. You try to distract yourself. But something deeper keeps calling you back. Not to a person, but to a feeling, a bond, a connection that just won't disappear. In Islam, we're taught that Allah often speaks to us in subtle, quiet ways. He doesn't always send signs that shout. Instead, He sends signs that are deeply personal, gentle nudges to the soul that are only recognizable to the one meant to receive them. And when someone is truly written for you by Allah, these signs can show up in ways that the logical mind can't explain. You might be walking through life, trying to focus on yourself, and suddenly, a memory of that person crosses your mind out of nowhere. Not because you were thinking about them, but because something invisible pulled that thought into your heart. Or maybe you've asked Allah sincerely for clarity, and then they show up in a dream, looking peaceful, saying nothing, but standing still. You wake up and can't shake the feeling that it meant something, even if you don't fully understand what. These signs aren't always grand. They're not dramatic. They come in whispers, not in storms. But those whispers carry weight. Sometimes it's not even the person themselves, but everything around you begins to mirror their presence. You hear their favorite nasheed randomly. You open the Quran, and the verse you read reminds you of them, not in a romantic way, but in a way that makes you reflect on the role they played in your spiritual journey. And then you wonder, is this my mind holding on, or is Allah trying to show me something? That question alone is a powerful one, because it shows that you're aware enough to pause and seek divine meaning in what you feel, instead of rushing into conclusions based on emotion. When Allah places someone in your heart, and that feeling doesn't go away with time, it's worth paying attention, not to the person, but to the purpose behind their presence in your thoughts. Allah does not plant feelings without reason. He does not allow your soul to be drawn to someone repeatedly unless there is either a lesson or a destiny tied to that pull. And when you've asked Him sincerely for signs, for clarity, and those thoughts or coincidences persist, then perhaps it is not coincidence. Perhaps it is quiet confirmation. What many people overlook is that signs from Allah aren't always about reassurance. They're often about testing your perception. Are you seeing what you want to see? Or are you open to seeing what Allah is trying to teach you? It's not just about whether that person is the one. It's also about whether you are becoming the person who is ready to receive that relationship with maturity, trust, and spiritual clarity. That's why the signs may continue, even when you feel like you're trying to let go. Not because you're failing to move on, but because Allah is not done showing you something. Another form of subtle sign is the emotional peace you feel despite the distance. It doesn't make sense to others, and you can't explain it fully yourself. But deep down, there is a strange calm whenever you think about them. It's not obsessive. It's not desperate. It's quiet. Still. Steady. That is not the kind of feeling that usually comes from the ego. It's the kind that often comes from the soul. And when you've placed your du'as in Allah's hands, sometimes that stillness in your heart is His response. He may be telling you, stay still, let me work. Don't rush this. You may also find yourself meeting people who randomly bring them up, even when you haven't spoken about them in a long time. A friend might mention something they said, or you see something they posted that resonates with your own spiritual growth. These synchronicities may not mean you should go back or reach out, but they may be Allah's way of showing you that there is still an invisible thread connecting your paths. For reasons only He fully understands right now. And then there are the du'as, the ones you made when you were at your lowest. The nights you cried asking Allah to guide you, to make things clear. If after all those heartfelt prayers, your heart still doesn't feel released from them, even when everything external says move on, then that resistance to detachment might not be a sign of weakness. It might be a sign of spiritual truth. Allah doesn't allow sincere du'as to return empty. Maybe what you feel isn't the past haunting you. Maybe it's the future calling you. But it's important to walk this road with wisdom. Not all signs mean reunion. Some signs are there to purify, to guide you inward, to prepare you for someone who may be completely different. Still, the signs will continue until the purpose of that connection has been fulfilled. And if the purpose is union, then nothing, not time, not distance, not silence, can stand in the way of Allah's decree. But if the purpose is your transformation, then know that you were always meant to feel this deeply, just so you could grow more fully. So if you keep seeing signs, if they show up in your dreams, your thoughts, your prayers, don't rush to act on emotion. Don't run after or run away. Instead, sit with it. Bring it to your prayer mat. Ask Allah, if this is from you, let it stay. If it's not, take it away. And then watch how your heart responds, not just emotionally, but spiritually. Watch how Allah answers you through your own peace, through the alignment of your life, and through the signs that feel less like confusion and more like clarity wrapped in stillness. Because when Allah is speaking to your soul, even the silence is full of meaning. Letting go can feel like the right thing to do when everything seems uncertain, heavy, or painful. When the connection feels too complicated, or when the silence between you and the other person becomes too loud, it's tempting to assume that moving on is the only option. But what if, in doing so, you're walking away from something Allah still wants to complete? What if your desire to escape the discomfort is actually causing you to turn your back on a divine timeline that hasn't yet reached its fulfillment? This is where patience is tested the most. Not during the beginning and not at the end, but in the middle, when nothing makes sense and everything feels incomplete. In Islam, we are taught that timing belongs to Allah. He is Al-Hakim, the most wise, and Al-Latif, the most subtle. What seems like delay is often divine design. We often try to control outcomes because uncertainty is uncomfortable. We think, if it's not working now, it's probably not meant to be. But what if Allah is saying, it's not meant to be yet? The distinction is critical. Allah doesn't need things to make sense to us in order for His plan to be perfect. He sees what you cannot. Maybe you're not ready yet. Maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe the environment around you is not yet right for something to flourish. But that doesn't mean it won't be, eventually. Letting go too soon can sometimes be a reflection of our impatience, not divine instruction. There's a difference between walking away because Allah has clearly closed the door and walking away because the process is uncomfortable and slower than we'd hoped. Emotional exhaustion can cloud our judgment, making us think that distance is a sign to detach permanently. But detachment should come from peace, not pain. If you're forcing yourself to let go just because you're tired of waiting, ask yourself, are you obeying your emotions or trusting in Allah's timing? Often, the most meaningful things in life take time. Real love, real understanding, real growth. Allah may be refining both hearts separately so that they can meet again more whole, more aware, and more ready. If He allowed things to continue prematurely, it could lead to a union based on weakness rather than wisdom. That's not what you want. You want something that lasts, that thrives, that brings you closer to Him. And for that, sometimes He delays the meeting or the reconciliation, not to punish you, but to protect what He's preparing for you. So before you decide to walk away completely, ask yourself this. Am I letting go because it's truly over or because I'm afraid to keep trusting the unseen? When Allah is still working behind the scenes, letting go too soon could mean stepping out of alignment with His plan. And while you do have the choice, the question remains, do you want what is easy now or what is right in the long run? Because the one that's right is worth the wait and worth the trust. Waiting is one of the most difficult things the heart can endure, especially when you're waiting for clarity, for love, or for someone you believe Allah has written for you. But in Islam, waiting is never meant to be passive. It's not about sitting in silence, hoping someone comes back. It's about transforming that waiting period into a season of growth, worship, and inner strength. The difference between despair and trust lies in what you do while you wait. Allah doesn't tell you to wait just to test your patience. He tells you to wait so you can prepare, elevate, and purify your intentions before receiving the blessing you've prayed for. When someone feels like the right one, and yet the circumstances aren't aligning, the temptation is to obsess, to overthink, or to chase. But none of these things are productive. Instead, this is your opportunity to return fully to Allah. To ask yourself, am I the person I would want to be with? While you're waiting, focus on becoming. Work on your emotional maturity, your spiritual discipline, and your connection to Allah. The best relationships are not just between two people. They're between three. You, them, and Allah at the center. And for that kind of relationship to thrive, both individuals must grow separately before they can come together in harmony. Use this time to make dua sincerely, not just for that person to return, but for Allah to guide you toward what is best. Ask Him to purify your intentions. Sometimes what we want isn't actually what we need, and sometimes what we think we're losing is actually being upgraded behind the scenes. Trust that if they are truly written for you, Allah is capable of bringing them back in a better way, at a better time, with better hearts. But if they are not meant for you, your preparation will not go to waste. It will shape you into someone ready for a love even more beautiful. Also, surround yourself with purpose. Don't let your days be defined by absence. Let them be filled with presence. Allah's presence. Serve others. Pursue your dreams. Build your character. Let your growth be so undeniable that, should Allah bring that person back, they meet a stronger, wiser version of you. One who didn't wait in despair, but who waited with dignity and spiritual strength. In the end, waiting is not a weakness. It's a sign of faith. Faith that Allah sees you. Faith that He hears every silent dua. And faith that His timing is never late.
If you're in a season of waiting right now, know this. You're not stuck. You're being prepared. And the one written for you is not just coming to complete your story, but to align with your growth. So wait, not with fear, but with hope. Not with anxiety, but with trust. Because in every second of that wait, Allah is working in ways you cannot yet see. May Allah bless you and guide you to a life filled with mercy, love, and tranquility.